Apple has scrapped the iPhone SE, aka Special Edition, and replaced it with the iPhone 16e, aka 16 Edition? Or maybe At the $600 price point, latest gen iPhones now range from $600 to $1,000 in starting price in $200 increments. But what exactly do you lose by saving $200 with the iPhone 16e versus the iPhone 16? Let's find out. The most noticeable thing on the outside is probably the camera. It's clear Apple is positioning the E, regular, and Pro iPhones to have 1, 2, or 3 cameras, as there's only a single lens on the 16e with no ultra-wide lens, which means no option to do a 0.5x zoom. In addition, the optical image stabilization is not sensor shift, which presumably means it works less well. Besides the lens, the biggest loss here is the lack of the camera control button that lets you quickly access the camera, change settings, and take pictures or video. For photo features, the iPhone 16e is missing focus control, macro photography, spatial photos, and while there are photographic styles, you don't get the latest and greatest generation. On the video side, the 16e lacks cinematic mode, action mode, spatial video, and macro video recording. In addition, quick take videos, which are those you record in photo mode without switching to video mode, don't go up to 4K at 60 FPS in Dolby Vision HDR, which requires that missing camera button to do on the iPhone 16. Instead, the resolution depends on your photo aspect ratio, but it'll be closer to 1080p at 30 FPS. Moving to the front of the camera, the screen is the next obvious difference. There's no dynamic island, as we're back to the notch experience. The screen's brightness is also reduced to 800 nits versus 1000 nits typically, and 1200 versus 1600 in HDR mode. There's no longer a 2000 nits peak outdoor brightness either, nor is the minimum brightness 1 nit. Finally, the ceramic shield front is not the latest generation, which means it's probably not quite as durable. The last difference on the outside is that the iPhone 16e comes in only white or black colors. You won't get the color-infused glass back in ultramarine, teal, or pink color options that the iPhone 16 provides. Going inside the phone, the iPhone 16e is powered by the same A18 chip that the iPhone 16 has, but with one less GPU core. That means up to 20% less graphics performance. One area the iPhone 16e is actually better than the 16 is battery life, which is enhanced by 12 to 20% due to the 16e using Apple's in-house C1 modem. The 16e versus the 16 is rated at 26 versus 22 hours of video playback, 21 versus 18 hours streaming video, and 90 versus 80 hours of audio. When it comes to charging though, the 16e supports only Qi wireless charging up to 7.5 watts and does not have Qi 2 up to 15 watts or MagSafe up to 25 watts support, so wireless charging will be slower. And you won't be able to clamp magnetic doodads to the back of your phone. When it comes to connectivity, the first major difference here is the iPhone 16e only has Wi-Fi 6 instead of Wi-Fi 7, so wireless networking speeds will be slower. Another potentially bigger miss here for some is the lack of an ultra-wideband chip, which means no precision finding support for friends or AirTags. There's also no Thread networking support to communicate directly with smart home devices that use it. However, unless you know you need this, it probably isn't a big deal. The 16e's C1 modem was built in-house versus the Qualcomm Snapdragon X75 modem in the iPhone 16. Besides the battery efficiency, there are some functional differences, including no dc-hsdpa or dual cell high-speed downlink packet access support, which allows the simultaneous use of two 5 MHz carriers to increase data transfer rates in mobile networks. While this can help with download speeds, it's a 3G or 3.5G network technology, so it may not be relevant to you depending on where you live. One perk is that the GPS system includes NAV-IC support, otherwise known as the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System used in India, so it may not be relevant for you. Lastly, the iPhone 16e is a tiny bit smaller at 0.03 inches or 1.1 millimeters shorter, 0.1 millimeters less wide, and with the same depth but 0.12 ounces or 3 grams lighter. Overall, not a huge difference. So in summary, the $200 savings you get by going with the iPhone 16e instead of the iPhone 16 means you miss out on the ultra-wide camera, camera control button, and some photo and video features, the dynamic island, a brighter and darker screen with tougher coating, additional color options, one extra GPU core for increased graphics performance, less battery life, faster MagSafe and Qi 2 wireless charging, Wi-Fi 7, an ultra-wideband chip for precision finding, Thread networking, dc-hsdpa cellular network support, not missing NAV-IC GPS support in India, And finally, a slightly bigger and heavier phone. That's actually quite a bit of stuff for $200, but you can decide if it's worth it for you. Personally, I can't settle for a 60Hz display on a phone, so until Apple brings 120Hz Pro Motion to the iPhone 17 next year, hopefully, I'm stuck with paying more for Pro.